Today I'm going to show you how I made 3 different palmistry hands, one from a hand that I already had, and 2 that I cast myself. I'll show you how to decorate them, and I'm going to include a free printable palmistry guide so that if you guys decide that you want to make your own, you'll have it as a reference. It's all happening coming up next. Hi everybody, welcome to the Witch's Studio. I am of course Mickie Mueller, author, illustrator, and witch, not necessarily in that order. And today we're going to make some really cool palmistry hands. Everybody loves the look of these. You see them all over the place. Palmistry is an ages-old tradition. It goes way back. Lots of people do it. I am not going to claim to be super experienced palm reader because I'm absolutely not. I have dabbled in it a little bit and it's actually quite fascinating. And I'm going to include some resources for you guys down in the description below so that if you want to learn more about palm reading, there's other people who are way better at it than I am that you guys can learn from. So I've included a few links down below. And yeah, you can go out and buy an already made palmistry hand. You absolutely can. Sometimes you can find them relatively inexpensively. But the truth is, when you put the effort into creating something that you made yourself, you learn as you go. If learning palmistry is something that you're interested in or you just want to experiment with a little bit, I recommend sketching out your own hands and reading your own palms is always a great place to start, because the whole point of palmistry is to learn more about yourself, who you are, what you came into this world with, and what you've created so far. Your palms can also change with time, and I've seen examples of this. So what you find when you read your own palm isn't necessarily set in stone. As always, we have the ability to change our destiny if we so choose. It's basically a roadmap, literally, on your hand. There's lots of different traditions of palmistry, and they're not all exactly the same. So this is one of the reasons that the palmistry guide that I'm including doesn't have a ton of detail on it, because I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to make your own notes on this sheet. As you can see, that's absolutely what I did. I made a ton of notes, and I'm having fun reading my own palm and learning about what's there. I have this really interesting hand that was given to me by my friend Tanya, and as she called it, it's a kind of weird, creepy hand. And I was like, I knew immediately when I saw that, I was like, I know what I'm going to do with that. I'm going to turn that into a palmistry hand. That one was by far the easiest because I already had a hand to begin with. So this hand is a ring display, and I only know this because I used to run a metaphysical shop with my husband in St. Charles. And I've been to the Store Supply warehouse there in St. Louis, and I've seen these hands. They come in black and white. They're really cool, and they're meant for displaying rings on. So the fingers are much more thin and elongated. It's a very stylized looking hand. I think it looks sort of Tim Burton-esque, and I'm here for that. So if you're interested in doing a palmistry hand that you want to keep like on your bedside table or maybe in your kitchen where you can put all your rings when you're not wearing them, that's a really good option to look for these Store Supply hands. So without further ado, let's get into the first palmistry hand that I did, which is my crazy creepy hand. Here it is. So the first thing I did was I decided I better light a candle because it just makes it so much nicer. I got this gorgeous candle at Aldi, and it smells like the inside of a greenhouse. I am just loving it, and it gave me so much joy while I was working on this hand. And yeah, Aldi's not a sponsor of this channel or anything. I just bought the candle and I loved it. So Dan made me this gorgeous coffee mug using our Studio Coven art. I was so excited, so I made myself a little cup of tea and settled down to get to work. Now, I had already painted this hand white, even though it was white to begin with. You know, it got a little dirty just being, moved around and stuff, and the pinky figure had been broken off. So it was glued back on. So painting over that mended spot helped to blend it in with the hand a little better. I did go ahead and pencil these on before I got started because the hand is such a weird shape. I wanted to make sure that I got all the symbols and the lines all in the right area. So I just used a regular pencil and drew everything on very lightly because I was going to go back over it, of course, with a marker. I used a permanent marker. This is a Sharpie. Again, not sponsored by Sharpie. And I went through with the Sharpie and put all the lines in place. This is marking off the phalanges of the fingers because each phalange also has different correspondences. They are all tied in with the zodiac signs. So I will get into that later, and again, there's going to be a video linked below that explains what every single one of those symbols on the fingers means. But I'll give you a basic overview if I can as I'm working here. So the first line that you're going to see me adding to this palm is the fate line. That is also sometimes called the line of destiny. It relates to how much your life is influenced by outside forces. The second line, that's the heart line. Now that has to do with emotions, romance, mental health, and also cardiac health. This third line that's right under the heart line, that's the head line. And that is all about learning, whether you're intellectual, your thirst for knowledge, and these kinds of things. And this fourth line, that is the lifeline. That has to do with physical health, personal energy, major life changes. Now that lifeline does not talk about how long you will live. That's kind of a common fallacy. But it definitely does relate to your health, your personal energy, and these kinds of things. So I don't know if you can notice it here, but I changed my pens out several times. I had a little trouble with these pens on this hand. They tended to want to run out really fast, and I don't know if it's something about the substrate of this hand, whether it sucks the ink out of these pens or whether it just creates some kind of a buildup on the pen to keep the ink from flowing properly. So anyway, if you're going to do one of these, you can use these kind of pens if you want, although you might prefer trying perhaps a paint pen that might work a little bit better. I decided that there was a lot of arm there, and after I got everything done up on the palm itself, I wanted to add something to the arm just so it didn't look so plain. I was really happy with how this turned out. I just love the look of that. And the little moon phases, below. So you can see this wobbles. It's very wobbly. And that's how that little finger got broken. So Tanya warned me about that when she gave it to me and said you might want to make some kind of a base. So Dan used one of our oval tiles. It's just a masonite tile, and we die sub the design on there. I had him make me up one special so that I could use it as a base. For this, I used the E6000 glue that we use for a lot of our products to, stick one part to another part. And I just covered that base really well. And as you can see, once I get it stuck on there, it worked really well. You could also use a plate or a coaster would work really well for something like this. In fact, I almost used a coaster. But since I had access to the dye sublimation stuff, I thought, let's do that. And look, it made it totally sturdy. I love the way this turned out. And it holds my rings. Even my tiny pinky rings will go on this. So yeah, you can put your rings on this if you want to. Though mine is going to live right over here on my shelf, so you'll see it in all my videos. I had somehow gotten, and you guys who know and are familiar with palmistry probably noticed that I did get my Virgo and my Scorpio signs mixed up. They're sort of similar looking. They both look like an M with an interesting little tail. So what I did was I just painted white over the tops of both of those symbols and let it dry, and then I redrew the correct symbols where they go. Yeah, it's okay. You don't have to worry about making little mistakes along the way because nobody's perfect. But this is giving me life. You don't have a creepy hand in your house? I thought everybody had a creepy hand in their house. Okay, if you don't have a creepy hand like this, do not worry because I have a solution. That looks weird. What the heck? Anyway, I wanted to give you guys options because I know not everybody has access to a creepy hand just randomly in your home. So I did a little bit of research and I discovered Natasha Rose's channel, and she had a great tutorial on how to make your own plaster hands that you can turn into a palmistry hand. Now she does hers two different ways. The first way she used a glove, and I will show you how I did it. And then she did a second one using her own hand, which is really cool, and I might try that someday. But I didn't have the alginate, I think that's what she called it, that you mold your own hand in. So, because I didn't have that handy, oh my God, the puns, you guys, the puns! Anyway, I didn't have any of that, so I just used plaster and gloves to create my two hands. I am going to also link Natasha Rose up here somewhere. So when you're finished, and I'll put her in the description below too, her video on making palmistry hands. So if you want to go see how she did it, that's where I got the idea of how to do mine. I altered mine a little bit because, you know, I can't leave well enough alone. That's just me. So anyway, here's how I made my next two palmistry hands. So the first thing you're going to need is some plaster of Paris, which I have here. It's not very expensive. A disposable container. I guarantee do that. I used one of those paint stirring sticks and some vinyl gloves as a mold. You could also use latex gloves if you have those. And that's what they looked like. I also used these bamboo skewers, which I wouldn't have thought of if it weren't for Natasha Rose using them. And I grabbed some plastic spoons to have on hand, basically nothing that would get ruined mixing the plaster. Used a measuring cup and a liquid measuring cup, and that is an awl which I'm going to use to pierce some cardboard. I'll show you that in a minute. I decided that what I needed to help form the shape of the hand properly was to use some cardboard forms to press the palm of the hand flat. I tested it with some water and I found that the fingers formed fine, but that palm section, the main part of the hand, tended to poof out really big when I poured water in. So I came up with this as a solution for that, just to kind of press the palm of the hand in and keep it more hand-shaped and less balloon-shaped. So I taped the glove on the inside of the form, which it fit right into perfectly. I just used some box tape, but you can use whatever tape you have around the house, just to kind of hold that in the former so that it wouldn't move around or shift or anything. And then I used the awl, and I'm just using that to puncture through the cardboard because I'm going to use the bamboo skewers to hang those in the same way that I saw Natasha do it, but I've got an extra layer to go through of the cardboard. So as you can see, it makes it a lot easier to drive those bamboo skewers through, and the little fingers come out the bottom, and there's a fill hole on the top. So I did this with both hands, and I put them in a trash can, which I had lined with a trash can bag. That way, If for some reason they leak or anything, it won't ruin my trash can. It'll just go inside the bag. So I mixed up the plaster. That is going to be 2 parts plaster, 1 part water. So I did 2 cups of plaster. And I've got 1 cup of water in my liquid measuring cup that I'm going to pour in and mix that plaster with. I decided to do this outside because it makes a big old mess, and you don't want that in your house. Now watch what happens when I pour this out. I didn't have a warning on my package of plaster of Paris. See how it the dust kind of floats up? Ideally, you don't really want to breathe that. So I did put on a mask while I was stirring this. And again, thanks to Natasha, she was the one that suggested it. I thought it was a great idea. So at this point, it was fairly easy to just kind of pinch the little front of that ice cream container so that I could pour it easily into my molds. It worked really well. Then I decided to lift it out of there and kind of pinch the little fingers just to push any air bubbles out if there were air bubbles in there. I wanted to make sure that the mold was filled well and didn't have any little pockets of air in there. As you can see, it really makes those bamboo skewers bow out big time. Then I went ahead and filled the rest to the top. I didn't show you here, but I did end up putting tape on the ends of those bamboo skewers so that they would not fall or slide into the trash can because they've got to sit there for an hour. An hour later, I came back after walking the dog. She was very happy about it. And started pulling those skewers out so that I could see how well it had come along. I had the tape on the top there, so I had to cut that tape off carefully. And you don't want to bend because it's set, but the plaster is still relatively soft, as you will see. So there was my first one. I wasn't a fan of how that thumb really pushed in. On the second one, I actually made the former quite a bit wider, and I do suggest if you use this method, make the little former pretty wide so that your fingers and your thumb can kind of come away from the hand, because as you see, it broke. And bad words were said, I promise you. I thought about just casting another one, but you know what? I decided that I could just glue it back once it was dry. So I set it off to the side and was much more careful with the second one, as you will see. Very carefully removing that glove. I trimmed it wherever I could and peeled it very carefully over that thumb. But that one was a little wider, and the thumb has a little gap between it and the hand, which was ideal and made it much easier to get off. At this point, the plaster is relatively soft, like I said, and you'll see that I noticed there were some little folds from the gloves down near the base of the hand. And I wasn't crazy about that, but I did come up with a way to fix that. But look at how nice it sits. I mean, it sits really nice. I was very happy with that. I just used a bamboo skewer and started kind of trimming basically with the bamboo skewer across the edge, and then taking little bits of the still damp plaster and putting it into the cracks that had formed from the wrinkles in the gloves. And it worked pretty well. If you look at these closely, you can see a little bit that those were there, but I'm not mad at it. I was pretty happy with how it turned out. Then I decided to go ahead and grab my skewer and place all the lines on the hand itself with the skewer so that they were indented. You do not have to do this, if I'm honest. It made it a little more of a challenge to paint, so I might not do that again. As far as the plaster goes, just throw it all in the trash when you're done. That's why I use disposable everything, because you do not want to pour that down your drain. I painted one black and one white, And I'll show you, I had a little mishap. I had them both sitting up. As you can see, that's the one with the broken thumb, and I had them standing up next to each other, and the broken one fell over and knocked over the good one, and now it has several broken fingers too. Once again, bad words were said. All the fingers got glued back on with the E6000, and I left them sit overnight, and they turned out fine. For these two, I decided to use acrylic paint instead of the Sharpie markers. Basically, I'd run out of Sharpie markers. None of them work anymore at all. So the acrylic paint was working okay. Again, I think a smoother surface probably would have worked better than me carving the lines into the hand. But you know what? That's how you learn. I'll be honest, it wasn't perfect. I'm not afraid to show this to you guys because I want you to understand that not everything you do has to be perfect. Don't let the idea of perfection stymie your creativity or get in your way. Just go for it, man. Just do it, and don't worry about whether it's perfect or not. Do it the best you can, and it'll be fantastic. I definitely lost a little bit of the definition that I really wanted to have, but I wasn't worried about it because when you use acrylic paint, you can fix anything. So I grabbed the white paint and I went ahead and started adjusting and cleaning up the edges a little bit, making the thicker lines thinner so that it would look a little bit more refined, and really cleaning up all the symbols so that they looked much more clear and, you know, looked nicer. I think it turned out a lot better after I went back and touched everything up. Not bad for a palmistry hand that had the thumb broken off when I was uncasting it. I was very happy with it. So then I grabbed the white paint so that I could work on that black one. I did end up leaving these to dry for about 2 days. It was really humid here, and so it was making it really hard for these to dry. So yeah, I let them dry for a couple of days. Depending on where you live, if you try this, you might need to do the same thing. So yeah, I just very gently started putting the lines in because I knew I was going to have to touch up. Since I did the other one, I kind of did that as I went. And as you can see, I kind of dipped my finger in a little bit of the paint and got it on the couple little dots on the palm there. But that was easy to fix, you know. So the spaces underneath the fingers are called mounts. And in order, those are Mercury, the Sun, Saturn, and Jupiter. And those are the planets that rule over each finger. The mount of Jupiter and that finger stands for expansion, new things, creativity, abundance, growth, and luck. The mount of Saturn is structure, ego, groundedness, and how you respond to the world. That's how I respond to the world sometimes. Mount of Apollo, sense of self, drive, and ambition. And mount of Mercury is communication, technology, communicating with people. You'll also notice that the mount of Venus is right underneath the thumb, and that is love, beauty, health, and sex drive, and that rules that whole thumb. And the mount of Luna on the opposite side of the heel of the hand there is interconnectedness, humanity, receiving messages and things like that, intuition. And then, of course, as I mentioned, all of the phalanges have astronomical symbols for each one, and they have different correspondences, which I would just list out to the side here for you guys. So if you want to jot those down, you can. But again, look to those videos that I have referenced below for a much more in-depth information about palmistry. I love these. I think they turned out really cool. I think I might want to decorate the backs of these two, maybe like a hamsa hand on the backs, but I didn't get around to that one yet. So anyway, follow me on social media. If I decorate the backs of these, I'll post pictures of them for you guys to see as well. Though usually you just set them on a shelf facing this way. But you never know. Sometimes you might want to change it up a little bit or something. Anyway, I'm really happy with how these turned out. I don't know why I'm doing this. So yeah, 3 palmistry hands. I think they're pretty cool. This one I'm definitely going to keep. This one, it's not perfect. I don't know what I'm going to end up doing with this one. This one, I was thinking about maybe doing it as a giveaway. It does have the 2 broken fingers that I had to glue back on. So when it was perfect, I definitely had decided, oh, this is going to be a giveaway. And then it fell over and the fingers broke off and I had to glue them back on, and I was like, I don't know if I should do it as a giveaway or not. So let me know down in the comments if you guys think I should do this as a giveaway for one of you guys to win. Because if you guys are into it, I will definitely do it as a giveaway. Probably when we reach 10,000 subscribers, because we're getting there. I think it's pretty amazing. So yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to do a big giveaway where lots of people are going to win multiple prizes when we reach our 10,000 subscriber mark. So this might be one of those things. It looks pretty cool sitting on the shelf. Also, you guys, don't forget, down in the description, you're going to find a link to grab this palmistry guide. It's not going to have my notes on it. I wanted you guys to be able to do your own research. And some of you guys probably have experience in palm reading and some of you guys might not. So I wanted you to be able to make it your own. So the notes that I have on here, I made from watching the other videos on palmistry that's down below. So make sure that you go and watch those. If you don't know anything about palmistry, it'll give you a good start. And making your own notes always helps to bring that into your memory a little bit more. It'd be a great little thing that you could put in your book of shadows or magical journal, whatever you're keeping. So anyway, do any of you guys do palm reading? If you do, let us know in the comments. I'm interested to hear. If you learned something new today, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button and ring that notification bell, because then you'll know whenever I post a new video. You might even be the first person to comment if you've already subscribed, because then you'll know as soon as the video comes up and you could go check it out and drop me a comment. I am so happy that you guys joined me here in my studio. We had a lot of fun making these palmistry hands. Go out there and have fun being creative. If you decide to make your own palmistry hand after watching this video and you post pictures of it on social media, don't forget to tag me, because I would love to see what you've done. It doesn't have to be perfect to be amazing, you guys. You know mine aren't perfect. You watched me make them. I'll see you guys here next time. Until then, here's a couple more videos that I think you're going to really enjoy. Until I see you next time, stay safe, happy, and healthy. And remember, as always, to be your magic. Bye, everybody.